So why would you roll back policy that's actually being effective? When we were first in a meeting with President Trump back in February, it was myself and some other members, including Chairman Brady. The president brought this up, and he said, we understand that the policy is right, but we got to be careful on the timing. The timing on this one coming up to election is perfect because people are going to remember your vote on this. When you say that you're going to roll back a tax cut,
I got to leave it there, but we're all watching. Thank you, Congressman Mullen.
Hey, Trish,
Quick break.
you.
We'll be right back.
At Fidelity, our online U.S. equity trades are just $4.95. So no matter what you trade or where you trade, you'll only pay $4.95. Fidelity. Open an account today.
My ambition is to show my kids the world, the one in 3 dimensions, so they can look up and see the place they live, and prove that the real world beats a post.
Ambitions live everywhere. Synchrony helps make them happen with customized rewards and financing available at over 350,000 locations. Synchrony. What are you working forward to?
Core, perfectly pH balanced water.
All right, everyone, you know I love hearing from you, so please follow me on Twitter at Trish_Regan. Tell me what you thought of today's show, and do not forget to go on Facebook, and you can like my personal page at facebook.com/RealTrishRegan. Here's my question to you. Do you want tax cuts 2.0? And what happens if the Democrats say no? Liz Claman, I'm sending your way up 154.
Yeah, but the NASDAQ just fumbled all of its 86 points of gains and more. Stocks are fighting tooth and nail to regain what was much higher ground earlier. We've just seen the Dow's gains slash by nearly 100 points. Did the markets decide to suddenly fear the high-stakes trade talks taking center stage in D.C.? Representatives from 60-plus companies and trade groups, from electronics and computer chips to lighting and trucking. They've descended on Washington right now to either support or furiously fight the latest round of U.S. tariffs on $16 billion worth of Chinese products. What we'll do is we're going to take you inside the closed-door hearing that's happening right now with the biggest and most fiery takeaways. This is the Trump administration extends a $12 billion helping hand to farmers here in America to ease the pain of the trade war that's been started. But is it too little too late to help the one sector the president tried to protect in the first place? All of this is happening ahead of a very major trade tete-a-tete tomorrow at the White House. President Trump will welcome the European Commission chief. Can they hash out the biggest battle over trade in decades? A detrimental threat is looming in your own backyard. A terrifying new report saying Russian hackers have actually gotten inside our electric utility grid. We've got the company whose bread and butter is fighting Russia with its anti-Russian firewalls. Cloudflare CEO is joining us with the solution he says will fix the Russian hackathon and protect our elections come November. Plus, Jeff Flock is about to skydive out of an airplane at the air show. AT&T's Hollywood ambitions, and Charlie's about to break it on the new economic outlook on steroids. We're less than an hour to the closing bell. Let's start the countdown. Folks, I'm sorry, we need to get you to this breaking news. It is 10 p.m. in Greece, where the latest death toll from the wildfires now stands at 74. Apparently, this number includes families with children who were found hugging and burned to death as they were trying to flee. We're getting all kinds of reports. More than 180 people have been injured. Officials are saying there are at least 6 major fires raging across Greece that are being fueled by strong winds. We now have the Spanish government sending 2 amphibious planes to help battle the flames because you've got people, victims, who have been pushed up. It's almost like Dunkirk. They've been pushed up against the ocean. They're jumping into the ocean. Some of them are drowning. They're jumping into boats and then being swamped by the waves. Prime Minister Alexis Tsipras has just declared a state of emergency in the Attica region, but that actually includes Athens. The death toll is expected to rise. Greece has declared 3 days of national mourning to remember those who have perished in the fires. We're going to keep an eye on all of this. Let us get, though, to the markets at the moment. The major averages have given up earlier gains. The Dow is still up about 154 points. This after seeing gains, though, of 245 points at session highs. The Dow is still on pace, though, to snap a 3-day losing streak. It's the tech-heavy NASDAQ that turned negative after touching an all-time high, trading above 7,900 for the first time ever. The NASDAQ is down only 8 points, but the fact that we've had a nearly 100-point swing to the downside does not give a lot of confidence to the fact that this index now stands at 7,833, nowhere near 7,900. A big driver earlier today, though, was Google parent Alphabet. The tech giant hit a new all-time high after reporting blowout profits after the bell last night. Revenue blew out, unbelievable numbers. Shares are up nearly 4%, or $46 to $1,257. That would put it on pace to close at a second straight all-time record high. We should look at what else is pushing higher, steel and aluminum stocks. And it's not just by a skosh here. We're getting a big boost after strong results and bullish outlooks from Allegheny Technologies and Steel Dynamics. Both, as you can see, are jumping. We've got Allegheny better by 5 3/4, Steel Dynamics up 2.5%. All of the steel names are looking pretty darn strong, along with AK Steel, US, and Kaiser Aluminum. But the big loser today, and this brings us into the whole trade conversation, is Whirlpool. Remember yesterday I told you, they're coming out after the bell. We'll get a sense of what tariffs do to a company. Because remember, back in January on the 23rd, those were the first tariffs that the president called for and put into place on foreign washing machines. Well, the home appliance maker, All American, that had originally praised President Trump's tariffs on imported washing machines, calling them a positive catalyst for Whirlpool, now admits it is feeling consequences of the steel and aluminum tariffs. So it's not necessarily the washing machine tariffs, but higher raw material prices have raised costs for Whirlpool by $350 million. Stock is just getting hammered, down nearly 14% right now for Whirlpool. But let me dovetail back and switch to the Dow Jones Industrials. It's still managing to hold on to the triple-digit gains, standing at 25,200, up 155 points. The global markets looked very healthy. Most of them have closed. Certainly the Asian markets overnight. Shanghai jumped 1.6%. Hong Kong's Hang Seng up 1.4%. European markets then took off. They closed broadly higher. The FTSE out of London climbing 0.7%. France's CAC 40 climbing 1%. And Germany's DAX up 1+% today. But I also want you to look at the yuan. This, of course, is the Chinese currency falling to a 13-month low against the U.S. dollar after it was announced that China is going to do a whole bunch of things. It'll pursue tax cuts and other expansionary measures to loosen monetary policy. That is a fancy way of saying it's putting pillows down to avoid the bruises that it probably is already feeling from the U.S. Tariff threats here and the tariffs that have already gone into effect. So you can see it right now, a little bit slightly weaker here, but it's fascinating to look at the broader currency market. Still a mixed picture. The dollar, though, is stronger against the euro. I want to go back to equities. Why are we seeing the reversal in the NASDAQ and the broader markets? I want to get to the floor show. These guys know, the traders at the New York Stock Exchange and the CME Group. John Corpina, give me a reason, because I sat down here and I said, wait a minute, what happened to the 80-plus points of NASDAQ gains?
You know, I think investors are looking at trading sessions on a tighter schedule here, right? A day-by-day basis. We had great earnings come out after the bell yesterday. That translated into a nice upswing in the market to today. But after the close today, it's a new event. Tomorrow morning, it's a new event. Plenty of earnings that are coming out. So I think investors are trying to really manage expectations. S&P trading above 2,800, trying to keep it above there. We need to see if it's going to really stay there. So I think what investors are trying to do, take some short-term profits off the table, just because we know there's a lot more on our calendar this week and coming up in the next few weeks.
Phil, I could be wrong, but I don't think it is trade fears. We asked that question just 7 minutes ago at the top of the show. Did suddenly the markets wake up and get nervous? No, because the volatility index barely higher. So I don't think that the markets decided this morning everything's fine and then said, wait a minute, now we're nervous. The trade talks are tomorrow with Jean-Claude Juncker of the European Union and President Trump. Is it something else that we're missing here? I always like to really dig with you guys.
Well, you know, I think it's really technical. I was talking to some of the floor traders, and I said, boy, this thing looks like it's just going to go up all day. And I said, one trader, he goes, no, not so fast. He says this market is overbought right now. They hit some key resistance areas, and they decided to pull back. But I do think you cannot take away the fact that the market is getting excited about these trade talks, because I think it's almost going to be a game changer if there is progress made with Europe. Because if there's progress made with Europe, China's not going to be that far behind. And I think that's going to really get this market excited. So I do think there is a little bit of trepidation going into those meetings.
I know everybody thinks that President Trump has a terrible relationship with Mexico from those first comments when he first launched his campaign. But I have to tell you, he's said some very conciliatory things about the new socialist president there, Alan. And also, I was seeing that the new trade representative for Mexico that's part of this new administration, he came out and said, we'll have a NAFTA deal in months. So we're focusing on Europe and China. Well, maybe we'll have a NAFTA deal.
Yeah, that's another thing that could be a positive. We've seen the markets sell off on the fear that something could happen, and often bounce on the facts. So we'll have to see when something actually is announced. You could see the markets rally significantly. To get back to today's action, profit-taking pullback, we've seen higher highs and higher lows. That's how a bull market goes. Also, we've had a key reversal in the dollar index last week where we made new one-year highs and had a lower weekly close. That could be very much a big positive, and that could be the next catalyst for the stock market and commodities.
Yeah, but everybody needs to not forget that 10-year yield, 2.96%, suddenly going higher. Gentlemen, thank you. It's a very busy day, and we always tell our viewers it's this final hour of trade that really, truly matters the most to your portfolio, because who knows how the market opens. Up 87 for the NASDAQ. Now we see some weakness here, big time. So it may look like trade talks with the European Union are taking center stage, but we also don't want you to miss what is temporarily a sideshow here, and that's China behaving awfully strangely, perhaps bracing for more tariff impacts. What this government has done is they've taken immediate significant steps overnight. See, they don't have to sit there and check with their Congress. Overnight to support economic growth, what they've done is they've announced additional corporate tax cuts. Can you imagine how long it took us to pass corporate tax cuts? They did this overnight. They sped up infrastructure spending. These are precautionary measures that are coming as China's economy has slowed. Rising trade tensions with the U.S. concurrently moving, but China is not the only party that is stressed out. America's top trade officials are getting an earful from no fewer than 61 U.S. companies that were present today, right today and tomorrow during this two-day hearing at the International Trade Commission. Those companies are declaring their dissatisfaction with President Trump's tariffs. Some of them are sticking up for them, but some of them are being very vocal about why